Okay, I'd like to call the November 6, 2024 City Council meeting to order. If you're able, please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Clerk, please call the roll.
Mayor Gabriel?
Here.
Councilmember Casena?
Here.
Councilmember Dothett?
Here.
Councilmember Askin?
Here.
Vice Mayor Naxted?
Here.
Councilmember Daniel?
Here.
Councilmember Sonart?
Here.
Student Representative Tanner?
Here.
You have a quorum.
Okay, thank you. Next on our agenda, we have election of the vice mayor. Anybody can do a nomination, and it does not require a second. Do I have any nominations? Councilmember Daniel.
I'd like to nominate Vice Mayor Naxted or another go.
Are there any other nominations?
I move nomination cease.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I didn't understand.
I move nomination cease.
Thank you.
Okay. I guess we could do that. But is there any objection to Vice Mayor Naxted retaining the position? I'm not sure how else to put that, but as a position. Seeing none, and I'll continue that. Thank you very much. Thanks for the vote of confidence. That brings us to approval of the agenda and consent agenda. Pleasure of council. Councilmember Raskin.
I move we approve the agenda and consent agenda as presented. Second.
Okay, are there any additions or revisions to the agenda or consent agenda from the council? Would the clerk please read the consent agenda items into the record?
Thank you, Vice Mayor Naxted. Approval of the regular meeting minutes of October 16th, 2024, brought to you by the city clerk. New business, action approval, bills to be ratified, brought to you by the administration. Action approval, confirmation of mayoral nominations for a partial term appointment of Sharon Fisher to the Park and Recreation Commission, brought to you by Mayor Gabriel. Introduction of ordinance number 3440-2024, accepting and appropriating a grant from the State of Alaska Department of Education and Early Development, Division of Library, Archives, and Museums for the purchase of library materials, brought to you by the administration. Public hearing on November 20th, 2024. Introduction of ordinance number 3441-2024, accepting and appropriating a donation from Hillcorp Energy Company to assist with the annual area-wide senior Thanksgiving dinner, brought to you by the administration. Public hearing on November 20th, 2024. Introduction of ordinance number 3442-2024, amending Kenai Municipal Code, section KMC 2355020, compensation structure by grade for employee in the classified service to amend the effective date a step increase occurs, and KMC 2355030 qualification pay to clarify annual leave and holiday pay calculations and correct an error to building plans examiner recognition pay, brought to you by the administration. Public hearing on November 20th, 2024, and introduction of an ordinance number 3443-2024, amending Kenai Municipal Code, section 1430030, general provisions to update the most recent version of the flood insurance study, brought to you by the administration. Public hearing November 20th, 2024, and that is your consent agenda.
Okay, thank you very much. Are there any public comments on any of the consent agenda items just read by the clerk? Anybody? Okay, was unanimous consent requested?
Request unanimous consent.
Okay. Since any objections to unanimous consent? Okay. So the consent agenda and agenda are approved. We have no scheduled administrative reports. We have no scheduled public comments. So that brings us to unscheduled public comments. Are there any members from the public who would like to speak on any item not appearing on the agenda? Marian Nelson. state your name and general location that you live.
Marion Nelson, Kenai Arts Center. And I've got Sandy, oh God, it's going to be a crying thing. Oh. Toughen out. Can't help it, they're all used to it. Some of them giggle, some of them laugh, some of them feel sorry for me. We just continue on. So I brought Sandra Huss Lewis with me tonight. She is the president of the board of directors for the Art Center, a job I was very happy to relinquish a while ago, and she's just doing an outstanding job with it. She's going to tell us a little bit tonight about the mural that's taking place right now, which it was my idea to do this about 5-6 years ago, and we've been doing it ever since, and it's the highlight of the year for most of us, because the artists, meaning people who sign up for it, as well as most of the board members, paint on the walls. Canvas is stapled to the walls. It's all, the gallery is covered, and they're in there for the better part of the week. And that means that the people on the board or others have to commit to making that space available essentially from 10 to 10 during this week period, if not 10 days. Otherwise, it couldn't happen. So it's a great thing, and it's exciting. It's not once in a lifetime, because we've been doing it for a while, but it's unique for sure. You may remember that I talked about the couple that was here, 2 years ago now, where they travel around in their bus. They've got a whole bunch of paintings on the outside of the bus, and they're great artists. One of them is anyway, and the other one is a historian. And she went around town while her husband was painting with us inside the gallery, and did essentially that historical notebook on the town, and posted a video, gave us a video for that. I hope that somehow got on the city site or somewhere, because it's professionally done. Sandy can talk about that perhaps a little bit too. Anyway, the thing that gal said that stuck with me is that they were so impressed that we were doing this, that this small town has this great annual event, and it turns into more than just people painting on the wall. And so she gave us the video to put on the City of Kenai website, as well as, of course, it goes all over, but she also bragged that this is something that they would be talking about in other locations. I don't know where they were going to go to next, but they essentially go all over the world. Sandy, you can come on up and introduce yourself a little further. Kenai's own.
Welcome, Sandra.
Thanks. Is this?
Yep, you turned it off. Yeah, you turned it off. Can you hear me? No, you turned it off.
Turned it off?
Yeah,
Okay.
red's good.
All right. Yeah. Red light on mic.
Yeah.
My name's Sandra Lewis, and I grew up in Kenai, taught with Debbie, had a couple people for students, grew up with Henry. So
Brian.
been here for a long time, and yeah. Hi, Brian. Graduated with Henry and Brian, but recently came back to Kenai. I was in Japan for quite a few years and got involved with the Kenai Art Center. And if you guys have not been over to the Art Center, it is a beautiful facility now. It is a first-rate art gallery. I highly recommend that everybody comes in and checks it out. Every month we have a new show, and this show, Marion kind of talked about it, is unique because what happens is, instead of inviting artists to bring artwork in, or showcasing one person or multiple people's work, we hang a piece of canvas around the entire gallery, and then we invite artists to come in and paint. And they have to paint in the gallery, so you get to know all these artists, and you get to see their talent. And I was part of the painting, and it was amazing because you get to hear the expertise from people who actually paint. And so it's a really nice collaboration between artists. And we just finished this morning. And so the show is ready to view. And the second Friday opening is this Friday. It's from 5 to 7, and I highly recommend coming. There are some super cool pieces. If you guys need any large pieces for your walls at home, this is the time to come get them. There's a big variety of subject matter and way that people paint. And then, yeah, you can purchase them, and when the show's done, they cut them down and take them down. And then in the back, we have 2 galleries now. And so in the back, there's a quilt challenge. So it's a 12 by 12 inch quilt challenge. So every month we have for sure a show in the front. And then almost every month now we have one in the back. This mural show goes through the middle of December because we close the last 2 weeks of December just because we're ran by volunteers and everybody's on vacation. So people really don't want to give their time up. We also have the crafts fair coming up at the high school that is sponsored by the Kenai Art Center. And that is a fundraiser for us because we're trying to pay our bills because everything is.
It's the big one that happens every year at the high school.
I'll finish. It's money from that helps us maintain our payments for the year and also help maintain the building. And that is the one that happens the 2 days after Thanksgiving, and that's at the Kenai High School. And this year, things are starting to come back, obviously, in our economy because we've already sold all the booths. We had all of our booths sold probably a week and a half ago. So the vendors are starting to be interested. I think that's probably one of the biggest events on the peninsula, is at that crafts fair that weekend. So also go there and support your local artists. So, but I mostly wanted to come tell you who I was. Thank you for letting us have that building. It's a great building. We really enjoy it. Sorry, Brian, got my back to you. And
Tell them about the scholarship you got in high school.
oh, these guys probably don't want to hear, but anyway, so my affiliation with the Art Guild started in high school. My senior year, I actually applied for a scholarship from them. So you had to enter multiple pieces of artwork. And I had 3 paintings. And there was another girl who we always painted things together. And I thought for sure she would win the scholarship. She was pretty dang amazing. But I ended up winning the scholarship and paid my first semester of tuition at college, which was pretty amazing. And then as an art teacher, kind of continued my connection with the art gallery because every April they have a show for the local junior high and high schools at that facility. So I, as a teacher, was always involved in that in every April. So, but if you have not been over there, you definitely should check it out. There are some amazing artists. We have them local and some from Anchorage, just local, the Alaska Peninsula and Anchorage area in the gallery. So, but thank you. That's enough rambling. So.
Ms. Lewis, would you be able to, if there's any questions, anybody from council?
Yeah, do you guys have questions?
Councilmember Doffett.
Have you set a tentative date for your fundraiser yet? Your annual fundraiser?
Well, the fundraiser is, we do a couple things. So we just got done with the silent auction. And instead of doing the harvest auction, which will happen again next fall, we had a major turnover in the board right before the harvest auction was supposed to take place, and that was just too much for us to plan. But so we had a silent auction for 2 months in the back gallery, and that just closed on October 25th. So we will have a harvest auction next fall, next September. And then we do get funds from the crafts fair, which help run our show. But we do have major improvements to do on the building because it's a 1950s building. So we will be talking to you guys also about that. We need to buy a new boiler, put a new roof on the building, replace or fix the brick structure because it's starting to crumble, and then also get it up to code in the lighting and the inside. So we have about $170,000 raised for that, and we need about 260, maybe a little more now that prices have gone up, to fix all those things. So if the city council could help us out in any way, that would be great. But we are continuing to try to fundraise and get support from other places for that. So, and we are going to begin doing those things in the spring. So we have a Rasmussen grant that we have to use or lose. So,
Yeah, I was curious about the fall. I
yeah,
hadn't missed that one. So
next September.
Okay.
So, yeah. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? You know, as far as, you know, some of your, actually, you described most of the building needing some work.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, and that becomes a problem a little bit, you know?
Yeah.
But I suggest you might want to talk to the city manager and probably the public works director at some point, just to
Okay.
kind of, you know, discuss some of those things, how you're planning to phase it. It
Okay.
is, city owns the building,
Right.
you know, after all. And,
Yeah.
you know,
And there has been a lot of work done by the Art Guild already, replacing all the windows, just upgrading bathrooms and just making it into an art space before it was a fire. If you guys haven't ever been there, it's the old fire station and police station. And so it obviously wasn't an art gallery, so there's been a lot of work done on it to make it into an art gallery. And we also now have plans to make it more of a tourist destination as a historical building. We're going to do some stuff with the jail that might include some of you guys getting locked in there and having to earn your way out. But we do want to make possibly the jail a tourist destination, and then there's the fire station, there's the old pump in the wall that we're going to maybe use plexiglass so that they can see it. So, because people come in, they want their picture all the time in the jail, and so going to make that part of the whole facility.
thanks. I just want to say, before you go, if there's no other questions, is that the mural is pretty much my favorite thing
yeah.
that you guys do every year. I like all the other
Thanks.
ones quite a bit, but that one, it's very creative, and you've got corners, around
Yep.
corners, and dang, I missed it last week when the artists were working, because it's fun to walk in there while they're doing it.
Yep.
It's how are you going to do this around this corner, and,
Yeah.
you know, whatever. And
We did have quite a few people, because it's open to the public the whole time we're painting. So people will come on different days just to see the progression of the pieces of artwork. And that's really a fun part of the show. And people stop and ask questions. And it was funny because they'll pull up a chair and they'll sit and watch you paint. It's a little unnerving, but it's still fun. Yeah. It's
Speaking of
really
questions, I see Mayor Gabriel has his hand up.
Yeah, thank you, Vice Mayor Nexted. I just wanted to say thank you to Marion and Sandra for coming and presenting, and just wanted to make sure we extend the invitation to you, Sandra, to feel welcome to come and present at future council members if there's significant events there that you'd like to have us know about.
Okay, all right, thanks. I'll definitely do that. So, all right, any more questions? Thanks.
Thank you very much. Is there anybody else that would like to address the council? Okay. Oh, Samantha, you didn't move fast enough. I was moving to the next page. Welcome.
I was making sure there's nobody else. Samantha Springer, Kenai Chamber of Commerce. So just a little update, we had over 1,200 people come through the Haunted Chamber, which was awesome, even with the horrible weather. It was shocking to get snow when we did. And then we definitely saw a decrease in people, but we still brought in just as many, as, if not a little bit more than last year. And we already have it down. We've already started building Christmas Comes to Kenai. So hoping to have that up and ready to go by next week. And then we'll be completely ready for November 29th, starting at 11 a.m. to 4. And then we'll have our electric lights parade, and then we'll have fireworks. So we are really killing it over there. It's been exhausting. The museum is closed right now. They've already started redoing all the displays. Daniel has already started with early Kenai history. And like I said, every month there will be a new exhibit, basically. And we'll have something new called Kenai Chronicles, where, Kenai Chronicles beyond the exhibit. So every month there'll be a lecture on what's going on in the exhibit and have a speaker that's related to that time period for Kenai. So we've been working really hard on that. Also, the gingerbread competition is happening right now. We have not received any yet, but last year everybody turned them in like the last 2 days, so should be great. I love last minute things. It's perfect. And then Holly Jolly Bazaar is full on December 7th and 8th. We got all the vendors, so that's awesome. Just a lot of stuff going on over at the Kenai Chamber, so watch the calendar. And then I should have next year's calendar done by next meeting, I think. Oh, and we got a dinosaur. That's really random. I didn't tell Terry yet. Hi. We have a dinosaur. We're running a contest on Facebook to find a name for it. It's fine. And a dunk tank. But then now I'm done. So, any questions? Where it is? It's in front of the building with a Santa hat and lights. Oh, I don't know where they went. No, they're not there anymore. They got sold. Yeah, all the rest of the dinosaurs got sold.
Does a dunk tank have heated water? Or is it just, as it
We're
comes out
probably
of
gonna put
the?
a trough heater in it just to make everybody happy.
This was
That sounds
Alex's
like-
idea, by the way.
I think we might have a first volunteer, I think.
Well, I was thinking, Terry, you brought.
Could be dunk your favorite council member. Huh? No takers. Okay.
Well, straws.
Any questions? Okay, that's all I
Okay,
got.
thank you very much.
No problem.
Perfect timing. Anybody else wish to address the council? You come forward and state your name.
Hi, my name's Jody Dura. I'm here representing the KPHA Hockey Association. I grew up here also, and I know a lot of you too. I am a big proponent of youth sports, and I think that it's a really important thing. I did not think I would be here as a hockey parent, but here I am. Recently, and this letter was sent to the council, but I just want to reiterate, our association has had some financial difficulty lately, and we are looking at different ways that we can provide youth sports, sports that are affordable and also involve multiple kids in our community and throughout the state. And one thing that we do is we host 2 invitational tournaments here in Kenai and Soldotna, and we are looking to ask the city to help defer the costs of the tournaments. We are the biggest user group of the ice rinks both here in Kenai and Soldotna. And for the tournament specifically, last year they used approximately 32 sheets of ice per tournament, which was about $5,200, which is quite a bit of money. And any help would be beneficial. This year, the Peninsula Power Play Tournament will be this upcoming weekend, so if you want to see kids playing hockey after you go to the art show, you can just zip over to the ice rinks. There will be 12 out-of-town teams for the Power Play Tournament, which will bring in quite a few kids, and since it is a youth tournament and none of them can drive, that brings their families in and will benefit the city. Last year, Peninsula Winter Games had 20 out-of-town teams, which was 300 to 400 kids, and again, their associated families. So it does benefit the city by having all those mouths to feed and people visiting. So we would love to have an in-kind ice donation for the tournament, but any help would be definitely appreciated.
Okay, do you have an idea of what you might be looking at? mean,
So,
Request?
was that?
What would be your request?
Well, so last year, there were about 32 sheets of ice in the Peninsula Winter Games, which was $5,200 our cost. This year for the Peninsula Power Play Tournament, there are 22 sheets in Kenai, which I can't do the math on the top of my head, but, so probably about $4,000 at a cost for KPHA for those sheets. So it would be a little bit, about $9,000 for both tournaments. Either ice donation or funds to KPHA. Was that? Mhm. Yeah.
So I just,
Councilmember
the
Dodd,
question, so I guess I'm confused. Are both tournaments going to be in Kenai, or are you looking at a tournament in Soldotna at their rink, and then you're looking for just part of that ice time at our rink?
Both tournaments are in Kenai and Soldotna, so we'll be running games at both rinks. So there are 39 games that are going to be played this weekend in both Kenai and Soldotna. 22 of them will be played in Kenai, since the Brown Bears are in town and they take significant afternoon ice for the weekend. The Peninsula Winter Games, because we could calculate out, I believe there were 65 games and 32 of those, January of 2024. We will be doing the Winter Games in January of 25. Last year's was 32 sheets. Youth sports are growing, so I would anticipate it would be something similar in January.
So I'm just trying to, I'm not a hockey parent, but, so the portion of that 9,000, the 4,000 is what you'd be asking for the Kenai rink specifically?
Well, 4,000 for the power play tournament and then about 5,000 for the
Oh,
Peninsula.
two different tournaments.
Two different tournaments.
So this is for both tournaments?
For both tournaments, yes.
How do the, I'm sorry, taking up too much.
Go ahead.
How do the tournaments work? Are they a fundraiser for the organization, or how do how does the ice time normally get paid for? Is it just an expense that you guys accrue and have to come out of like parent fees, or how does that work?
Well, the tournaments, generally, we charge the teams from out of town to come and play, and then we don't charge our local teams to play in the tournament, and usually the costs of the ice fees and the rep fees and all of that, we break about even. So we have had to raise our costs this year for players, and we're hoping that by getting more revenue that we can make hockey a little bit less expensive for the families. And one way to do it is to make money on our tournament instead of break even, maybe even lose money on the tournament.
So you're referring to in kind, that would be something separate from cash, so what did you have in mind? And maybe I didn't hear that.
The costs for us to rent the ice, like getting those fees waived.
Sand time, sanding time, all the stuff that goes into running the rink for hours. Come on, let's do it, let's organize.
Yeah, so instead of charging us for the tournament, just writing it off, that would be the in-kind.
Councilmember Daniel.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Nexted. So first of all, thank you, Ms. Dura, for coming and talking to us about this. Would it have to be for this particular tournament, or is it just, would any ice time be acceptable? What are we looking for here? And does it make sense what I'm asking?
Well, I know it's very short notice this weekend, but it's very short notice for this weekend, obviously, but, since we do the kids skate all season, we could also do like an in-kind donation through the season for those sheets that we're using for this tournament. We would also appreciate.
I guess I'd like to, go ahead.
I just have so
Councilmember Doffett.
just trying to wrap my head, so how much revenue does the tournament bring in with the charging of the teams?
Last year, I believe we broke even. I think it was less than $1,000. And I don't know the actual numbers. I don't have them with it, but
How much do they charge for I'm just trying to, how much is normal ice is it per sheet? Is that how it's charged, or?
yeah, so I believe the games and/or practices are 1 hour, and then there's a 15-minute window where they Zamboni the ice.
Oh, and that's considered, per hour is what you're referring to
Yeah.
as sheet time?
Yeah,
Okay.
yes.
Terry?
Yeah, thank you, Vice Mayor. Councilmember Dot's $165 an hour is our current billing rate for ice at our multipurpose. Last I knew, Soldotna was 2 1/4. It could be higher now, I'm not sure.
Councilmember Daniel?
Thank you. If, if we were to make grant this somehow, I mean, would this impact the parents at all? Would there be any sort of benefit to the obviously the financial benefit, will the parents see any benefit? Does that make sense?
So KPHA in general, we try to keep costs minimum. And so looking at the cost for running the association and all the ice times and the different tournaments, away tournaments that we do, we try to provide the services that we need to do the overhead. And if we do have money left over in past seasons, we have refunded parents or given parents a kind of a proportional refund of their costs for the season. So like the travel teams where the parents pay more would get a little bit more of a refund than the house teams where the parents pay less. So we ideally would like to refund that money, or at least decrease the amount of costs to the parents maybe next year, or put it towards more tournaments for the kids to play. So yes, we would like to benefit the kids and the parents.
Sorry, one more. And is this a one-time ask, are we thinking, from the organization, or how are our finances? Are we getting more stable? Like, I don't want to, as a council, to come back and do this often.
Right now, we're hoping it's a one-time donation. One of the big things that has impacted our association is gaming has gone down for various reasons. And we are hoping that it picks up over the next few years so that we are not in this situation for the long term. But there have been several different things going on in gaming-wise, and I am not the best person to talk about that because I'm new to the KPHA board, and I'm also not big into gaming and how that works. So I can't give you specifics on that, but I do know just in general, revenues have been down. There's illegal gaming with the online stuff that has cut into the KPHA profits, plus different costs and caps associated state-wise in the gaming. So with the new lotto and different changes that KPHA and Lucky Puck and Power Play, the two pull tab and bingo associations, have been advocating for statewide. It sounds like things will be getting better. So I would hope that this is not something we need annually, but I also really think that the city of Kenai has done a lot for the kids in the community, and I would like to see them continue to support different sporting adventures, including hockey.
You gave some amounts, but how many, for a tournament, how many hours of ice time do you expect to use?
Well, since the Power Play tournament is this weekend, I can tell you that we have 22 sheets of ice, which is an hour and 15 minutes per sheet, which is an A division, so it's a little bit more competitive. There are fewer teams. The Peninsula Winter Games is our house or B division tournament. KPHA has more teams, and there are more teams because that is not a tryout level. They let anybody play. And so they had significantly more teams in that tournament. So Power Play tournament this year is 22 games. We haven't done the Peninsula Winter Games for January of 2025, but last year there were 32 sheets of ice, 20 teams, and so there were 65 games between the Kenai and the Soldotna rings. So for Kenai itself, it was 32 sheets of ice in the Peninsula Winter Games.
These are new terms for me, sheets of ice. So that's a game.
That's a game.
Okay, and-
That's an
and-
hour and 15 minutes.
Okay.
That's the unit
So I
that
was
we
trying to
get
do the math.
charged.
Hours.
Yes.
I just have-
Go ahead,
How many
Councilmember Doppett.
teams are this weekend coming to town?
There are 12 out-of-town teams.
And I know you said they get charged. What did those teams pay to participate in this tournament?
The cost is $1,650, I believe.
So 1650 to play in the tournament?
Yeah.
Okay, I was curious. And so they're paying 1650 to play in the tournament, and the cost, what is that cost covering? Is that just a fundraiser for running the tournament then, basically?
So the cost covers the ice rental, the ref fees, the various things, the posters and the paper and all of that for both Kenai and Soldotna rings. And it covers the 4 local teams that are playing in the tournament. We do not charge them for that. So the out-of-town teams kind of pool that money to provide the tournament for our local kids.
I just words in my head here.
Anything else from council here? Councilmember Raskin.
I have a question for staff. Is this decided, would we discuss this in executive session, or do we do this now, or what?
Through the Vice Mayor, council member, I don't think that the council can take action right now because this hasn't been publicly advertised. So even though they're asking for money right now, maybe you could retroactively do something in the future if that's what you wanted to do. I don't know what their billing schedule is. Terry might be able to help you with that, if they have to prepay, or if we could not bill them for part of it later. But right now, council can't do anything because we haven't provided public notice, and I don't really see a reason to go into executive session at this point either.
Thank you.
So just for clarification, we basically would need somebody's, write a resolution of some kind to go forth before the next meeting to make something.
Yeah, depending on what dollar amount and what funds are available, an ordinance or resolution, or maybe even an action approval item, depending on the amount of money involved.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming, and I want to say, a little bit caught us by surprise, I know, but, just where the funds might come from and whatnot, I think we're kind of juggling with that right now, and also the discussion of the ice time and the impact on that. I mean, I think the council here would be interested in helping. We're just not sure exactly how we're going to do that.
Thank you for your time. And I appreciate that your support and your questions. And if you do have any other questions, you can get a hold of anybody on the KPHA board or the Booster Club too.
Before you go, Mayor Gabriel, did you have any questions? I know that you're a hockey person. Is he on?
Yes, I'm still, I turned my video on because I was freezing up a
Okay.
little bit, turn it off, but.
I didn't mean to put you on the
being a
spot.
hockey player- No, I do understand. I guess I question for Ms. Doris, is the board looked at putting in a funding request from Lotto Alaska? I know part of what they do, they collect is to distribute to nonprofits. Have you made a request for funds from them?
I am not sure where all the fund requests come. I'm just looking at the tournament specifically. I believe there are other board members that are looking at different funding options because we do want to keep hockey affordable for kids around here in different ways.
Yeah, certainly. I think that's providing opportunity, hockey opportunity, and having a rink that is, I think we've tried to do a pretty good job of holding the ice rental costs down a bit, but I understand you got referees fees and that sort of thing. So certainly I think something that the council will take under advisement at this point and maybe come up with something moving forward. But thank you for presenting. Appreciate that.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Is there anybody else from the public that would like to speak on any item? If they have. That brings us to public hearings. The first public hearing before us tonight is Resolution 2024-43, authorizing the use of the Equipment Replacement Fund and awarding a contract for the purchase of a data center equipment, brought to us by administration. Pleasure of council. Councilmember Askin.
I move that we adopt resolution number 2024-43.
Second, unanimous.
Your second? Yeah. Okay. Is there anybody from the general public that would like to speak to Resolution 2024-43? Seeing no one, brings it back to council. None of us, is there any further discussion?
Maybe just, if we can, just get a quick description of what this data center's for from staff, possibly?
City manager?
Thank you, Vice Mayor, Councilmember Doffett. Our data center is probably I think it's one of the most important areas of the city. I mean, it's a tool used by virtually every employee in every department, but this represents the servers, the storage devices, so our SANs and things like that, where all the city's data is housed. Remember, we have the main data center over in the public safety building. We have a secondary data center in the library where we actually have, separation and backups in both places. So periodically, I believe it's every 5 years, 5 or 6 years, we go through and replace those servers and that storage equipment, and this is part of that cost.
Thank you for the clarification.
Okay. Any further discussion or questions? Okay. Unanimous consent was requested. Are there any objections? Seeing none, the resolution 2024-43 is approved, is adopted. Now we're on item E2, resolution 2024-44, amending the City of Kenai schedule of rates, charges, and fees by establishing an annual locker rental fee while continuing to provide free day use lockers, brought to us by administration. Pleasure of council. Councilmember Askin.
I move that we adopt resolution 2024-44.
I'll second.
I have a second. Is there anybody from the general public that would like to speak to resolution 2024-44? Okay, seeing no one, we'll bring it back to council. Council discussion. Councilmember Askin.
I'd like to hear, is this for at the rec center?
City manager, sorry.
That's right. Thank you, Vice Mayor. Councilmember Askin, yes, these are the lockers and the locker rooms are at the rec center.
Thank you.
Any further questions of the city manager? The price that's in there, is that comparable to other sport locker for yours? Do we have a cost basis? to establish it?
Yeah, thank you, Vice Mayor. I'm going to defer to Tyler, and see if he did that research.
Yeah, through the city manager, that was just kind of an average cost. If you look at likewise facilities throughout the nation, you get annual costs that can vary between $100 to $200 a year, but $10 a month seemed like a really normal price, and that and doing it annually makes it a little easier to manage on our end, so we decided to implement $120 a year, and that equates to $10 a month. So yeah, it was just two comparable facilities, it's right there.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. The only thing I would add to that is just to be clear with council is that there are still day-use lockers there that while somebody comes in to utilize the facility, they can lock their things up and for nothing. There is no charge for doing that. This is just for those folks that want to leave their things there on a more permanent basis and not have to lug things in and out. If they want an exclusive use of a locker that nobody else then gets the use of, that's what this fee is for. There's still plenty of, I'm gonna call them day-use lockers for members of the public to use and lock their things up while they're utilizing the facility.
Okay. Councilmember Doffett.
Just curious, how many people are using annual lockers now, roughly? Right now, none. After we renovated the floor, and before the renovation, we had a number of lockers we put notices on because we removed the lockers from the facilities and then put them back in when we were redoing the floor. And we found a lot of locks that were just kept there because it was kind of a free-for-all beforehand. And people weren't pulling their stuff out of there, so we kind of implemented this day-use policy and then looked at this resolution versus just off some of our regular members. Like, we probably have like 7 or 8 people that will sign up, I think, in the next week to do this because they expressed, oh, we would pay to use lockers if we can keep our stuff there over a day use. So this was just feedback we got from our regular users once we reopened our doors and had the lockers there.
Okay, I was wondering how we were handling it previously, so that explains that. Thanks.
Any further discussion? I think that this resolution makes sense. It sounds like you had a lot of abuse of the lockers, basically, or being used, and maybe people that had moved on, for that matter, with lockers being locked up and not being available to the public. So I think this should solve that. So unanimous consent was requested. Is there any objections? Seeing none, Resolution 2024-44 is adopted. Now we have item E3, Resolution 2024-45, authorizing a contract extension for employee health care effective January 1st, 2025, brought to us by administration. Pleasure of council. Councilmember Askin.
I move we adopt resolution 2024-45.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Is there anybody from the general public that would like to speak to Resolution 2024-45? Okay, seeing no one, that brings us back to council. Council comments, questions? Councilmember Daniel.
Perhaps an overview from administration on this for the public, please.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Councilmember, this is the annual, maybe we should refer to it as the annual bloodletting.
Yeah.
But so we currently, our health insurance renewals are on an annual basis. We have a broker that we work with. Parker Smith and Feek is new to us this year as our broker. So they've been working with us. The process starts with this. They examine our current plan. They examine how we do things within our current plan, and they look for any recommendations that they may have in the structure of our plan or other things that could potentially produce savings for the city and its employees, or just frankly, just improvements in how we do things. That's the first step. Secondly, Generally, they go to market, and they initially go to market with our current provider, which we use Premera Blue Cross Blue Shield of Alaska for, as our provider for health insurance for city employees. It's kind of unique to the industry, but Premera provides what they call a no bid quote. So they give us an initial quote, and that initial quote came back at 16.5% increase year over year. Rationale behind that, when you look at our claims history over the last year, our claims are running about 119% of premium. So that means that for every dollar that Premera is taking in, they're spending $1.19, which isn't a good situation. So that's driving some of those costs. Now, Premera will tell you that the initial renewal was 16.5%. They then came back and said the no bid option is 13.5%. So they'll give us a 3% discount if we choose not to go to market, which is kind of counterintuitive to normally how we do business. So at that point, we engaged with the broker and had several discussions on whether or not it made sense for us to go to market. We've had success in the last couple of years utilizing the market. It was their opinion, based upon our current claims situation and our current claims history, that the likelihood of us getting more competitive bids from other providers was pretty low. It potentially could mean that Premera would then requote us, utilizing more. So every month that goes by in this process, they get another month of claims data. So our claims history has not been improving month over month. So it could actually drive our premium the other way. So what this does represent is we chose not to solicit bids. They then offered us an additional, I gotta get this right, 1.5% to get down to what they call an early bird renewal. So we have till the end of this week to sign. And then they offered us a 0.8% discount if we switched from our current plan to one of their standard plans, which is virtually identical from as far as benefit-wise. It's identical to our plan, but it's one where they don't have to go to the Division of Insurance to specifically get approval for our plan. It's one of their canned plans. The net effect of that is an 11.2% premium increase year over year for health. That health also includes your prescription coverage and your vision coverage, the dental coverage, which is a separate premium. With the no bid option and the early discount, that renewal is at a 4% increase. In addition, we worked with Parker Smith and Feek and Premera. We will be offering, if this is approved, we will be offering a separate plan. So that's our standard plan we have in place right now for employees. We're offering a second plan. This is something that we've had requests numerous times from employees, to provide a plan that rather than utilizing a health reimbursement account, it'll use a health savings account, an HSA. So we will be offering an HSA option to employees this year. The primary difference is the contributions the city declares for an HRA are more of a use it or lose it. So if an employee doesn't utilize them, then those funds come back to the city. Under an HSA, if we contribute to an employee's HSA account, those become the property of the employee. Those roll over from year to year. They're portable. They can leave with the employee when they leave. Currently and Stephanie, correct me if I'm wrong, under our current plan, I believe our HRA contribution for a single employee can be as much as $2,800. Individual for family can be as much as $5,600. We experience about a 30 to 35% utilization of those funds through all employees. The HSA, it has a higher deductible, it's a higher deductible plan, has a 4,000 individual, 8,000 family deductible. Our other plan is a 3,000 individual, 6,000 family deductible. So it has a higher deductible. The HSA contribution in year one will be 2,000 individual and 4,000 family. And in subsequent years, it'll be 1,000 individual and 2,000 family. So the HSA option, I'll be honest with you, it does two things. One, it provides opportunity for savings for the city. It could lower our health insurance cost as the employer. What it does for the employee, again, is those funds, those unutilized HSA funds become their property that they get to then invest, accumulate over time. So in years where they don't have savings, they have other funds they can utilize for this. So HSAs are not for all employees. There are certain employees in certain situations, those that receive Indian Health Service benefits aren't eligible for HSAs. Those that are receiving TRICARE or other military type healthcare policies, they are not eligible for HSAs. So there are situations where employees aren't eligible to utilize an HSA, and I think that's why it's really critical that we continue to offer our current plan. There are some individuals that, depending on their usage of healthcare, probably would not be a good candidate to utilize an HSA. So I think this gives variety to our plan. Certainly not super excited about the numbers, but I think, based upon our claims experience, I think it's frustrating but understandable why the increases are being proposed. And that's why we also structured this as an extension to our existing contract as opposed to a new contract. So again, this is just a single year, and we'll keep, one of council's budget goals every year for the city is that we do our best to create sustainable health care for our employees, and I think this moves in that direction despite the premium increases that we're seeing. Stephanie, did you want to add anything? Okay.
Councilmember Daniel.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. 11% cost the city. Is there any employee premium increase on their side?
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Yes, Councilmember Daniels, so the way we structure our premium with employees, the employee cost share is 13% of the plan cost. So as premium increases, they share in that premium increase. They're paying 13% of that 11.2% increase. If council remembers, that was a budgetary decision made last year. We had been moving in a direction of getting to a 15% employee cost share. We've kind of frozen that for the last couple of years. So this still does represent a 13% employee cost share. That decision can be revisited come July 1. It could be revisited now, actually, council so chose. But that may be something we look at as a part of the FY26 budget process again.
What is
Councilmember Dothek, go ahead.
what is the employees' cost share right now? Like monthly, is there for individual versus family? Like what are they paying each month? I was just curious, what is the employees out of pocket?
So for an individual, I don't have the numbers right in front of me, but I believe it's 162 a month. For a family, it's 444 a month.
Councilmember Casina.
Yeah, thank you. I was curious if either the health insurance provider or the broker offer health initiatives or wellness programs that could offset or lower the annual premium, and if not, is the city offering those in an effort to reduce our month-to-month claim costs?
City Manager.
Yeah, thank you, Vice Mayor. As far as a comprehensive wellness package, I don't know that there's anything being necessarily provided from Premera outside of their normal education and things like that. Things that the city has We encourage the use of our broker. We provide broker information to our employees so they can reach out if they have questions on the healthcare. All of our employees and their families have free access to the Kenai Rec Center, things like that. But as far as, a real robust wellness plan, we don't. And one primary difference between the city and other public employers here locally is that we're effectively in a fully insured environment rather than a self-insured environment. So, and what that means is that our costs are limited to the amount we pay in premium each month. So like this year, when claims are running in excess of premium, we're not being charged anymore. In a self-insured environment, you're on the hook for those claims all the time. So, this is less risky for us, or it's more predictable, but it's very different than how other public employers, the school district and the borough are operating, which are much bigger organizations.
Any further questions? Was unanimous consent requested? I don't remember.
I don't believe it was it? I'll request unanimous consent.
Okay. Is there any objection to unanimous consent? Hearing none, Resolution 2024-45 is adopted. Thank you, City Manager, for that thorough explanation. I know more about it than I did before, that's for sure. That brings us to item E4, Resolution 2024-46, establishing the 2025 City Council regular meeting schedule, brought to us by the City Clerk. Pleasure of Council. Councilmember Askin.
I move we adopt Resolution 2024-46.
Second, unanimous.
Okay. Thank you. Is there anybody from the general public that would like to speak to Resolution 2024-46? Okay, seeing no one, that brings us back to council. I do have a note. Actually, I think I'll pass it over to the City Clerk if you want to elaborate on this a little.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Naxted. So this calendar includes the normal cancellation of the second meeting in July. However, this year, the first meeting in January falls on a recognized holiday, and the Parks and Rec Commission meeting meets the following day. So the council has the option at this point to either cancel that first meeting in January or schedule it for another day of the week. And that is completely up to your discretion. The agenda as presented has the meeting as not existing. So if you guys want to reschedule it, you would have to indicate what day you want to reschedule it for.
What day is that? What day
It's
is it?
January 1st on a Wednesday.
Oh, okay, that would be the holiday.
That would be the holiday.
A question of the clerk or the city manager, if we were to cancel that date, is there anything that is on our schedule that would cause that to be an issue that we need to address?
I didn't see anything, and I talked to City Manager Eubank, and we didn't see anything foreseen. If something urgent came up, we could definitely schedule a special meeting if needed.
Well, I would entertain a motion to amend to cancel the January 1st meeting.
I will
Councilmember
second
Dodd.
that amendment motion.
Okay. Do we have it?
It's drafted without it, but it would definitely formalize it if you guys made the
Okay.
motion, and that would be great.
Following you.
And the vice mayor should not be making the
Okay.
motion, so
So
somebody
I will
else.
make a motion to cancel that January 1st meeting.
And I'll second that motion. And unanimous.
Okay. Any objections to unanimous consent? Okay. So that brings us back to the main motion, correct? And any further discussion? Was unanimous consent requested? It was. Any objections to unanimous consent as amended? Seeing none, Resolution 2024-46 is adopted as amended. Now we have item E5, Resolution 2024-47, approving a lease of airport reserve lands described as Lot 4, Block 1, FBO subdivision with Crawley Fuels LLC on a non-standard lease form, brought to us by administration. Pleasure of council, Councilmember Askin.
I move we adopt Resolution 2024-47.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Is there anybody from the general public that would like to speak to Resolution 2024-47? Seeing none, that brings us back to council. Council discussion? Perhaps we could get a report from the city attorney on this. I believe you prepared it.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Nexted. So Crowley had an existing lease with the city on the airport. They're our primary fuel supplier on the airport. Their lease expired in July, and I think they might have bigger plans down the road, but they're looking for a short-term lease now for 5 years. And they're willing to make the minimum investment of that in real property improvements, which is $7,500 that our code requires. We did go round and round with them because they have existing underground tanks on the airport property, and they're also bringing in new above-ground fuel dispensing containers. They wanted to make sure that what they're bringing in, the above-ground stuff, remains their personal property and is not considered real property. I don't know 100% of their reasons, but I think some of those above ground tanks might be coming and going. And we wanted to make sure as a city that when they're done with the airport, that they agree to remove their underground tanks. So that's basically the majority of the negotiations were on categorization of their above ground fuel storage, and their agreement to remove all the tanks from city property when they were done.
Councilmember Doffett.
They already removed, I guess, for clarification, they had the gas station right across the street. Is that airport lease land there too, or that was their own personal property?
Thank you, Councilmember Dothett. I believe that's not city property that they were on.
I know they removed the tanks.
They did,
And
yeah.
closed that this summer, so I wasn't sure if that was part of that or not, so, okay, thank you.
Any further discussion? It's unanimous consent requested.
Ask for unanimous consent.
Are there any objections to unanimous consent? Seeing none, Resolution 2024-47 is adopted. So that brings us to new business item H7, action approval, mayor liaison nominations for appointment to commissions and supervisory subcommittee, brought to us by Mayor Gabriel. And I think I'm looking for an approval to accept that.
I'll move to accept action approval item number 7H7 for mayor liaison nominations for appointment to commissions.
I'll second it, request unanimous consent.
Okay, yeah, Mayor Gabriel, do you have something that you wanted to add?
Yes, thank you, Vice Mayor Nexted. I just wanted to, first of all, I have no objection to unanimous consent. I just wanted to thank Councilmember Askin and Councilmember Sonart for their willingness to take on both the, what I decided to do this year, since planning and zoning is a little bit of a heavy lift as liaison assignment, because they meet twice a month like council does, to try to split those duties with one of the commissions that don't meet as often, and we were able to do that through beautification and planning and zoning. And so we've kind of the first time we've done this as sort of a test, and maybe make it a little bit easier for our liaisons to planning and zoning as we move forward. So I just want to thank both of those council members for their willingness to do that. Thank you.
Mayor Gabriel, while we have you on, did you have a nominee for the supervisory subcommittee?
Yes, yourself and Alex Dothett. I think we have the vice mayor normally, and then Mr. Dothett if he's willing to serve.
Okay. Question of the clerk, does that require a change to the motion?
As long as the maker and the second is the maker of the motion and the second are okay with the addition of Councilmember Dothett being on the supervisory subcommittee, that is sufficient.
Seeing nodding heads?
Yes.
In the positive?
Yes.
Okay. Well, unanimous consent was requested. Are there any objections to unanimous consent? Seeing none, that's approved. So that brings us down to item I, commission reports. First one is Council on Aging. That was Councilmember Baisden, but they had no meeting, and their next meeting is November 14th, 2024. Second one is Airport Commission. That's me, and they also had no meeting, and their meeting will also be November 14th, 2024. That brings us to Harbor Commission. Councilmember Askin.
Their Harbor Commission did not have a meeting. Their next meeting is November 12th, and Mr. Casena will be the liaison.
Okay, and Parks and Recreation, Councilmember Sonard.
No meeting, but their meeting is tomorrow night.
Planning and Zoning Commission, Councilmember Dothett.
Yes, they had a meeting. And the item on the agenda for that meeting was the approval of the expansion at the funeral home. And that got approved unanimously. But it was pretty simple. Mostly, they're not expanding their actual business practices so much as expanding the living quarters to help give them more room for their large family.
Yeah, thank you for that. Beautification Commission, Councilmember Daniel.
No meeting, but they do have a meeting, a special, I don't know what you want to call it, special work session coming up potentially next month or so.
Thank you for that. So that brings us to the report of the mayor. Is Mayor Gabriel on? Does he have a report?
Yes, thank you, Vice Mayor Naxted. I just wanted to, not much of a report, I want to thank you again for covering here in the meeting. And also to just remind everybody, we have Veterans Day coming up November 11th before our next meeting. So just wanted to mention that, keep our veterans in our thoughts that day. And then also like to congratulate, we had our election yesterday and congratulate the apparent winners in those races are for State House, so especially for our representatives to the state legislature. And then also, obviously, thank everybody who's put their name in the hat to run for office, because it is a big commitment. So again, thank you to those folks as well.
Thank you, Mayor. So that brings us down to administrative reports. City Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, council members. Just got a couple of things to report. I wanted to give council the proposed date now for the city's land sale this fall, or this fall is kind of slipping here, but it will be Saturday, December 7th. And I think we're finally working through the final contract terms and things with the auctioneer, so that land sale is going to take place on December 7th. Unfortunately, we were notified very late last week, the recipients of the 2023 Small Community Air Service Development Grant awards were named. The city wasn't one of them. So we have a meeting scheduled next week with our consultant about what our next steps are. It's disappointing, but I don't know that it should have been completely unexpected. I think one thing that I did notice when I looked through the list of those that did get awarded contracts is everyone, and there was probably 15 to 17 awards. All of them except for one had a letter of interest already from an airline for the project. And I think unfortunately, the timing when we jumped into this, we weren't able to get that. But I think that's our next step and something we'll be working on for application for next year for a similar thing. I will also say that the vice mayor and I had the privilege of sitting down with Senator Murkowski, was in town last week. Her office called and she offered to sit down and have some discussion with us. One of the biggest things we discussed was the city's grant application. And she had a lot of very good and fair questions. And I do think the senator understands better now what the goal of our process is, and I do believe that in the future, I think she will be able to support it and give us a letter of support. And I did take an opportunity to remind the senator that, because she said it before, that, one thing we don't do at the city of Kenai is give up. We will continue working towards this because I think it's something that's really important to the city, but I think it's also more important to our citizens and the whole Central Peninsula here. So that was unfortunate, but we will keep moving forward. Let council know we did establish an administrative policy regarding the use of artificial intelligence. And we are working with department heads. We're going to be providing some basic AI training, about 5 different courses to get a lot of our staff, department heads and admins trained up on the use of it and potential uses of it. So that's something we're working on. I think there's a lot of opportunity here to enhance the efficiency of some of the things we do through the use of AI, is provided it's done correctly and with the right cautions. So that's something we are working on. As far as open recruitments, we are currently still recruiting for, I believe it's multiple police officers at this point, especially with Officer Miller's retirement at the end of last week. We have 1 vacancy as a public safety dispatcher. And Streets is, I think, back out, still recruiting for a temporary equipment operator to assist the street department. So I did sign a 5-year agreement. It's an affiliate agreement with the University of Alaska that will allow EMT and paramedic students from KPC to do practicum work with our fire department. Do ride-alongs and work with our paramedics and our EMTs, and it's vitally important for the college's program over there that these students are able to get this experience. But it's also it's like kind of getting to screen potential candidates before they even know it. So I think it's a great opportunity for us too. So that agreement, we extended the existing one through the end of October. This is a new 5-year agreement. It has no financial commitment from the city, just gives them the opportunity to bring those students over here. I would like to take a second, introduce 2 of the city's newest department heads. Tonight, Kevin Bootner is here with us. Kevin's our new planning director. 2 weeks, this is your 3rd week on the job? Yeah. And next to Kevin, Kevin's right, our left, is Lee Fry, the new Public Works Director. Lee's no stranger to the area. He previously worked at the City of Soldotna as a project manager for a period of time, at the borough for a project manager, and then most recently as Solid Waste Director over there. So super excited about both of them joining the city's team, and looking forward to the future. The last thing I have, I do want to express some sincere thanks and also some disappointment, but KPED and Cassidy and her crew out there, I think, put a very good proposal together before the Board of Fish, asking for consideration of relocating the upcoming FinFish meeting for South Central to the area, and the Board of Fish denied to take that issue up. And I think Cassidy experienced some of the same frustration. The city's done this twice on its own. and has not been successful. I think Cape Head did a great job of putting together a really good proposal, and but again, I think it's something we have to keep continuing to do. Those meetings, I think people on the peninsula deserve to have those meetings on a rotation here, since, you know, a significant portion of that activity takes place within our communities. I think it's only appropriate that that the Board of Fish come here, and hopefully we can get them to change their view over time. But I want to say thank you to Cassidy and her crew for that work, and again, a little bit disappointed. With that, I don't have anything else, but I'm happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions for the city manager? I have one, but it's not anything that you mentioned here. It's kind of more of an informational thing, but I think it does involve the city. I got a certified letter from Hillcorp about a week ago. Actually, myself and the neighbors which I thought was unusual, but the letter contained that they were intending to drill a production well in the Cannery Loop unit, pad 3, which is basically at the bottom of Walker Hill on Bridge Access Road. It's kind of tucked in there. It may or may not be city property, but I think the city has some involvement with permitting of that. And they were trying to be a good neighbor too, but that there could be some light, some noise, this and that, and there was the landman's number there, so I could call. But I was wondering what the city knows and what we might expect as the public.
Yeah, thank you, Vice Mayor, members of council. So we received application for 4 drilling permits from Hillcorp, all within the Cannery Loop district, I believe. If I remember, there are potentially 2 at the drill pad you described, and 2 will be off the Cannery Road over there at that Cannery Loop site. You know, I'm not sure if these are like brand new wells or they're reworking wells, but there will be a drill rig brought on site, and they will be doing some drilling. And they do have to make application to the city, and we go through and we review that, and it's something we handle administratively, but they have applied for 4 of those. I'm happy to hear that they are publicly noticing the neighbors. But yeah, it's just like the drilling that's going on right now down on the Singsa property. It is something that the city is made aware of, and we do permit through our normal process.
Thank you. We certainly could use more gas, and the letter did say that they intended to start about January 1st, and it would be about a month of drilling. So,
And we sincerely hope that those rigs are here on December 31st so that they're taxable in the city of Kenai on January 1.
There you go. City Attorney, Mr. Bloom.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Naxted, members of council. I don't have anything to report, but I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Mr. Bloom? Thank you. City Clerk, Ms. Hayner.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Nexted. Just wanted to let you guys know the city clerk's office is currently recruiting for term ending commission seats. We did notify all of the people whose terms ending, that their terms were ending, and very kindly offered them access to the applications, which I will tell you that our inbox is flowing really well with applications right now. So I don't think we're going to have a problem filling the upcoming term ending seats. And I'm available for questions.
Any questions for the clerk? Okay. Seeing none, that gets us to item L. Are there additional public comments? Are there any members from the public who would like to address the council at this time? Anything at all? Okay, seeing none, that gets us to council comments and questions. Council member Dothett.
Nothing crazy to report. Thank you to Sam for all the work over there and the lovely dinosaur. And then make sure to come out to the Christmas Come to Kenai. It's going to be pretty awesome over there. I really hope we see some of the council members there. The amount of work that went into it last year was pretty impressive. If you didn't get a chance to see the Santa Claus setup and the massive number of toys that they hand out, and this year they're going to have live reindeer. So it should be quite the event over there. So if you get a chance, it means a lot to the staff over there to have council or staff from the city walk through, at least check it out. Or if you know any little ones that want to come partake in it, that's great too. Other than that, more of my other personal notes is the old Nickel Chiropractor building on Redoubt will be being torn down as of Tuesday, so that eyesore will be gone, thank goodness. So, yeah, they're gonna start moving in equipment on Tuesday to demoing that building, so. Other than that, that's all I've got.
Okay, thank you. Welcome, Student Representative Tanner, and go ahead.
So I have quite a bit of a report, so I'll try to get through it as quickly as possible.
Oh, take your time. Take your
For
time.
Connections Homeschool, today was the robotics workshop at the Challenger Learning Center. Tomorrow, the National Honor Society and the Student Council will meet to make cards for troops. They'll write cards for active military personnel and veterans. Tomorrow is also Career Talk Thursday, which is career presentations and career interest discussions for young children. This will continue every Thursday until December the 5th, excluding Thanksgiving. On the 13th, there will be an owl pellet dissection workshop at the Kenai Wildlife Refuge. Additionally, I'd like to give special congratulations to 2 members. The first is Shinlon Tanner. She's a high school senior who is our only National Merit Scholarship semifinalist this year on the Kenai Peninsula, recognized for outstanding performance in the preliminary SAT exam. The second is Rose Burke, who is a 4th grade Connection student who won the Capital Tree Christmas Essay Contest. Her essay was picked by Lisa Murkowski, and she will travel with her family to Washington, D.C., where she will read her essay and light the U.S. Capitol Christmas tree. For Kenai Alternative High School, this week is the end of their second rotation or grading period. They have 3 new graduates, so congratulations to them as well. On the 19th, they will have a Thanksgiving dinner held at noon. For Kenai Central High School, from the 7th to the 9th, there will be a hockey Stars and Stripes tournament at Palmer and a volleyball regional tournament at Nikiski. From the 8th to the 9th, there will be the swim state invitational competition at Bartlett in Fairbanks and a wrestling invitational at Homer. The next week, from the 14th to the 16th, is the volleyball state tournament at the Alaska Airlines Center. The 14th is also the KCHS hockey versus Chuziak match, and the 15th through 16th is KCHS hockey versus Kodiak. The 15th to the 16th is also a wrestling invitational competition at Palmer. Finally, the 19th is a co-ed varsity wrestling competition at SoHi. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Sonar.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Nexted. I would like to welcome Kevin and Lee to Team Kenai. So welcome. And also welcome to our student representative Tanner over here. Nice to have him here. And it was a good turnout yesterday. I think our city clerk told me on the way in that she heard it was like a 42% turnout, which is good. And yesterday we had several first-time voters walking in, voting for the very, when I say several, I would say probably at least a dozen that actually told us, hey, this is my first time voting, what do I do? And then we had probably maybe 4 or 5 that walked in and said, how do I register? We sent them to the Alaska Division of Elections just a few doors down. So it was nice to have them right there. But all in all, it was a smooth day and lots of early voting, and 42% is a pretty good turnout. Would love to see it higher. I think it should be higher, but I'll take it compared to what we've had in the past.
Yeah, thank you. Councilmember Raskin.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I'd like to welcome Kevin and Lee also, and Student Representative Tanner, nice to see you. I don't have anything other than watch the ice, and thank you to our veterans.
Okay. Councilmember Daniel.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Yeah, lots of welcomes all the way around. Welcome, Kevin and Lee. Welcome our new student representative. And of course, our new council member over here, directly to my right, Councilmember Casina. Welcome to everybody. And other than that, that's all I got. Short and sweet tonight.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Casina.
I will continue my trend of just saying ditto to everyone. So, thank you.
I am pronouncing your last name correctly. Casina?
Casena.
Uh-oh. I'm going to have to.
It's not the worst I've ever heard. Thank you.
It might not change in the future.
That's quite all right.
Okay. I hope you're used to it. Okay, I just have a couple of things. On October the 24th, I attended a ribbon cutting over at Odyssey Urgent Care. It's an expansion onto the facility that they've got, and they've already got a medical clinic there, and that's located right behind on the Spur Highway, right behind the chamber. It's in a number of buildings, but they have it filled now, and as the people came out that work there for the ribbon cutting, they've got quite a staff. And it's not just a doctor and a couple of whatever. It's quite the staff. It's quite the going concern over there. And I was pretty impressed. They were very happy, and thank you, Samantha, for putting that together. I could tell that they were so appreciative of the recognition and having you do that, establish that forum. And anyway, it was a good time. It was the first snow of the year. It didn't stick. It was just kind of spitting. So anyway, but we got through it, and thanks for that. Let's see, the city manager did mention that we met with Lisa Murkowski, and I don't think I'll go on with that anymore, but it was a very good meeting. We met for about an hour. And the last thing I'd like to do is welcome Lee and Kevin. And Kevin, thank you for letting me into the city hall this afternoon when I met you. The door was locked when I got here, but it isn't usually, but I think somebody was being very efficient. So anyway, that's all I have. So having no other business before the body, the meeting is adjourned.